Unpacked with Relebogile Mabotja has done it again.
What?
Not just once, not twice, but for 3 whole seasons.
Yeah.
From The Honest.
So there's nothing nice about prison.
And everybody thinks that South Africans have it nice in prison.
Yeah, it's a mentality of South Africans. We think it's nice in prison, but in prison it's not nice at all.
To the heartfelt.
Like you can see she's fighting with death. Like I could see every day that this woman is fighting.
And down to the hilarious.
And then you have to explain, no, I have diabetes.
Sit back and laugh and cry with us as we celebrate the season that was. We got personal with our guests who had suffered the losses of their loved ones, from the passing of a child to the brutal killing of a wife. Some of our guests were healing, whilst others were still reeling from their loss.
What is the last thing your mother said? I'm very sorry.
She said she's gonna be okay. She lied to me.
I can understand you feeling like your mother lied to you. You know, one of the things that has been shared with me about death is it's actually such a private thing.
Yeah.
You know, people in general don't want to die in front of other people. And also, if you are facing death, fighting death, like what you said about your mom, I can't imagine her wanting to tell you that because it's a reality she probably didn't want to face. How did you start to process? I mean, you know in your gut, but it's different when someone actually says it. What were you feeling when those words were said to you that she's no more?
So, my first instinct, because her mother was there, you know, it hurt that I couldn't protect her daughter, you know. So it was a lot of guilt in that moment that you entrusted your daughter's life, in a sense, in my hands. And did I do the best? I don't know. And seeing her also reliving those words, hearing it from someone else, it hurt for me to see her like that, you know? So my first instinct was just to grab her and just hold her and just apologize.
He beat me so badly that I actually prayed that God night. And I said, you know what, God, I don't deserve to be here. I don't deserve to be treated like this. Rather take my life.
Yes.
Let James kill me tonight. I've chosen that path, that decision, and I made that decision that night, that I can die tonight.
Yeah.
That I will be carried out in a black body bag. And whether he was going to kill me or he's going to leave me there or whatever, but it was the way he beat me. He's never beaten me as badly as he beat me that night. And then he came to the bed and he started beating me and slapping me around, kicking me off the bed, on the bed. And I was bruised from my head right down. He never ever hit me in my face because that's how clever he was.
Yes.
Because obviously I would cover up. If I go out, I'd cover up, irrespective. And the next minute he was on top of me and he was choking me. But he put the gun down next to me. So I was against the headboard and he had his hands against, choking me. And as I was reaching out, I felt I had the gun in my hand. And within, I don't know, I can't tell you whether it was a second or a minute, but he was on top of me and I pushed him away from me. and I fired a shot.
Where did you hit him?
I thought I hit him in the shoulder, but apparently it was in the shoulder. But the bullets that was in the gun, we later out established was hollow points. It was a hollow point that on impact, it opens up.
Yes.
So it affected, it affected his other organs.
Umntana uyaphuma but akakhali. Ngizibuza, and then what's happening nabo bazibuza ukuthi kwenzakalani ngami. Hawu kwenzakalani? Why umntana angakhali? Okay, bamphuthumise ku-nurse ebephambi kwami nje ukuthi unurse amphampe ukuthi azokwazi ukuphefumula. I think ngathi ama-lungs wakhe, I don't know ukuthi bekwenzakalani. So akhale kancane umntwana. Bamphuthumise somewhere bangitshela ukuthi umntwana uyakuphi. Bamhambise-ke kuleyo ndawo leyo-ke. Okay, bangistishe bangise e-ward. I think it's ward 16. Mabazogisa khona-ke ukuthi uyohlala khona so far so delivery umntwana. Bangisa e-ward 60. Mabangisa e-ward 60, that's when ngibona abanye bomama baphethe abantwana babo owami ukuphi. That's Then udoctor wafika. Makafika uyangitshela ukuthi umntana wakho use-ICU.
Did the funeral at all help you to accept that this had happened?
No, it didn't. It didn't at all, because now I felt like I needed to replace my baby. I wanted to have another one so bad. Because now I was feeling as if I was a failure. I was so ashamed. My self-esteem was destroyed.
In that time, how else were you searching for Mbali? What else were the friends saying and the other people saying?
In that time, because besisearcha kakhulu sifuna find out neighbor, there's a neighbor, kwaza omunye umama weza wathi no mina uMbali ngumbonile. There's a tavern eBramfisher. Ngumbone ahamba na the very same guy lo labantwana basikole abathi bambone naye. Aphakathi kulo tavern noMbali. uMbali akhiphe ifone athufonela umamakhe. So the guy wathatha isibhamu washaya uMbali ngesibhamu enhloko. And then wathatha ifone wayilahlela phansi ifone. Wamthatha wahamba nayo.
So, Ara, what happened exactly? Ara, they were driving, and then what happened, Motseleng?
Yeah, a driver petrol, and then a driver speeding nearly 60, not even 80, and the Motseleng no tsanso tsama we 80. So wajwa ujile ba re kolo ya private ne ejwa gore ke mo khoneni so wa bona ka mo letsola ka the way le emene ka ona bona ba jwa ba le gamo, and then kolo ye ngwe jwa ile giani bona ba ya giani, and then yona ya so abaze ro what happened, and then kolo yela igure no re a ro kwile ka petrol ari yo mawe. That was my son's last. Bantu anathi lokho yena bethwele Mabotja. And then the next thing koloyi abayilori ijwile itseni ka ramugotru. Etsena momugotrini utlhokovetse ka yona nakona.
Sure.
We go to the first room, we are screaming her name. We go to the second room, we are screaming her name. We go to the main bedroom. We see the beautiful dress that we chose for her in the morning. We see her shoes lying there. Then we get that moment of being at ease for that period, a short period of time, to say, that means she's here because we see the clothes. And the last room that we had to go to was the dining room. And when we got there, she was lying on the floor. The carpet was full of blood. The cupboards were full of blood. And I still remember she was facing up, showing no sign of life.
My mom was shot first with a pillow covered over her head. And on the floor, they found my brother in a fetal position with his hand over his head.
And where was he shot?
Also in the head. And we walked to my bedroom. That is where my sister and I shared a single bed. There were 2 single beds in that room. In that room was my sister. She was shot on my bed, also in the head. And my dad shot himself on my sister's bed. And while I was in that room, it still didn't sink in that it's real. I just didn't want to believe that this is real. It was one of the first stages of grief, and that's denial, that they are gone. I needed some sort of proof that it did happen. So the next day on the funeral, when I saw their 4 bodies in their coffins, I realized that it is what it is. I had to say goodbye to the 4 important things in my life. And it's something that no 12-year-old or any person should experience.
Our guests didn't just open up their hearts to us, but also provided us with insightful information on various topics based on their experiences.
And for you, Poppy, what was the way you had suggested, or what ways did you have in mind at the time when this discussion was happening?
You mean in terms of how we would get pregnant?
Yes.
So I already had
or let me say
idea
even how you would have a child, because it having a child as a same-sex couple, the options are also adoption or surrogacy or the various options.
Yeah. So I mean, I knew the various options. For me, something like adoption was the last resort. I really wanted to carry a child. So I knew that I biologically wanted to carry a child, and I wanted this child to be biologically mine. So, we did a lot of research online, and I had a really good gynecologist who's also a fertility specialist, and she talked me through the options. So I have a condition called PCOS, or polycystic ovaries. And so I do have some struggles with ovulation. So I had to go on some fertility treatment, and she talked me through all the different steps, but she assured me that we could do an IUI, which is an intrauterine insemination. So we went that route. And if that didn't happen for us, then we would have to go down another route like IVF. So that was our plan that we discussed with our fertility doctor as we progressed.
So in the military, everyone, if you decide to wear uniform, you can be deployed. So before your profession, you are a volunteer as a soldier.
Oh, yes. Okay.
So your profession is after
being a soldier.
Being a soldier, yes. So all of us, we are volunteers. So you volunteering to protect and serve your country.
Yes.
That's the first thing. The second thing will be your career you'll be a psychologist or a doctor or whatever. But the first thing is that if there is war, you need to be able to carry a weapon as a doctor. You need to be able to carry a weapon as a lawyer. You need to, so you will always be a frontliner, whether you like it or not.
So explain to our viewers then, what is a monk, and then share with us how and when you became a monk.
Well, a monk I remember when I told my mother I wanted to become a monk, she told me more like a monkey. Anyway, that was my mother.
She was not taking you seriously.
She thought, what you talk about monkey? You know, parents, they know you.
Yes, yes.
So a monk is basically someone who lives in a monastery,
Yeah.
who is living a life which is guided by some spiritual principles, who's trying to culture higher consciousness, or is trying to master certain aspects of their being. So,
What was it that resonated with you that made you want to find out more?
yeah, when I came into the session, the person who was doing the session was an Afrikaner gentleman, very tall, rugby type. And at that time, remember, we're into Black consciousness. And I'm just kind of thinking like, yeah, what's this Buddha gonna tell me, you know? Anyway, he's very peaceful. He's got this smile that's just hanging there, gentle spoken. And he spoke that we are not this body, we're the soul. And just light bulb moment for me. We're already talking about consciousness, but I'd never considered that all of us are actually that conscious spiritual being. And it made sense. Yes, I didn't really choose this body. Somehow I find myself in this body because I wasn't so comfortable fully in that Black consciousness space. It had a lot of sadness. The white man did us wrong. You know, the system is doing us wrong. And the white man is the devil. And I was thinking, I know all sorts of wonderful people in every race. And so when he mentioned that we're not this body, but we're the soul, the conscious being, I was like, yes, yes, yes.
That was the moment.
That was it. That was like, yeah.
Charity, how did the whole experience and the everyday affect your mental health? I mean, you had just finished writing your matric exams.
Yeah, it was very frustrating, angry at the same time. You know, you're angry at everybody, snappy, your emotions were just trying to hide. Yeah, it was very frustrating, but I'm very, very grateful and thankful because my family was very loving, so supportive, you know. At times I wanted to be alone and I just didn't want to see anybody. But my friends just kept on coming. Family kept on coming. Everybody wanted to be around me. But I was still so uncomfortable with myself. And I had to start over again and start loving myself, you know, before I can, you know, receive everybody else's love. So that's very frustrating. I won't lie, it was very frustrating.
You were born, and how long were you living in the prison with Mom for?
3 years. Then on my third birthday, you can correct me if I'm wrong. On my third birthday, my mother's best friend Melanie and her husband and the daughter came to fetch me.
So what is the rule in Thailand, in the Thai prisons, in terms of how long your child can be with you?
That was 3 years, but then they changed the policy from 3 years to 1 year. So she went 2.5 years old. They told me she needs to go. If she doesn't go, they're going to put in an orphanage in Thailand.
Yes.
So that is why I had to make preparations for her to go. And also because she was speaking Thai.
Yes.
So I had to tell her, prepare her, that she's going to leave me. And I had to deal with it first. And then get it to her because I couldn't cope with it. That she actually have to leave. And then preparing her that she was going to go. It was very difficult, it was very hard, but then I had to realize that this is not a place for a child. I'll be selfish if I want to keep her there because of me. But she needs to be in a normal environment to be able to be raised normally and not in a place like that.
What are some of the things that you have a hard time with that you've had to make adjustment for?
The first one is guilt parenting, because I feel sometimes I parent him. I feel bad. This is me. This is my fault. You understand? So sometimes I'm cozy even when there's a wrong. You understand? Even before I started making noises, like before any noises. So when I started making noises, of which is not right. Because in that I feel, what if ngiyamkhuza and then uyathula futhi njenga before, you know, such things. And also the way ngiphila ngakhona, I mean, my life in general. It's a bubble nyana. I had to create a bubble for him because it gets easily affected by abantu. Kama khona ukulala ebusuku. You know, so you have to shield them, which means with Mina, you can't really have a life outside of him.
And I mean, obviously the autism as well, things like lights, being sensitive to noise.
Yes, that's why I also shield him. So other people are like, no man, I'm feedly. We go to the mall, we go to like hlala business naye together. But I limit isikhathi because it gets easily agitated. We are frustrated. Yeah. So I have to make sure la hlala khona, quiet, and he's very territorial as well. He's a man after all. So he's I have to life yami, it's centered around him.
We were also left with pearls of wisdom to wonder.
What would you like viewers that are watching to know about you and the life that you live?
That actually we have needs, all of us. Material needs are very well advertised for us and we know them. We also have spiritual needs. And that we should not deprive ourselves of those needs. We should pursue those needs. And without pursuing and trying to fulfill your spiritual needs, then you become like that driver who doesn't know if the petrol is for the car or for himself. So we have to nourish ourselves, and that nourishment is in this relationship with the Supreme Person. He may be known in different names, in different traditions, but without deeply pursuing that relationship, we'll always just be feeling not satisfied, you know. It's never going to hit the spot, whatever it is that we're looking for.
Don't let your past define you. You got to know what your strength is, and don't be in competition with anybody. Because if you're going to look at other people's ways of doing things and want that, you're not from the same route. You don't have the same journey. So find what your strength is, use that for the better, and just be on that positive light.
We all go through loss. We all go through trauma. You know, every single day something happens. You know, and I think the more we take the taboo out of, and especially as Black people, we take the taboo out of death. You know, the easier it will become for us to confront these demons, so to speak, and deal with these matters. You know.
Can you tell us, if you were to explain it in one sentence, what is it that drove you to some of the things that you've done?
People fight for justice when it's too late. When there's a body, when the person's 6 foot under. We are surrounded by social ills. There's GBV, there's substance use disorder, there's all sorts of crime. And we turn a blind eye. And until it comes happening and it comes knocking on your door, and something happens, and then now you have the courage and the boldness to say, I'm going to stand up, I'm going to fight. What are you fighting for? Too much, too late.
Final words is for everybody to just open themselves up. We're in 2021. Cultural norms, cultural standards when it comes to certain things also need to adapt. Again, it's not a choice. And also just being defiant, I think. Any chance I get, I'll talk about it. Before you ask, if you look at me a certain way, I'm going to tell you about it. You know, so I try and position myself in that way where if I can impart just this piece of knowledge for you to go out there and probably share it, I've probably done my part, you know. So I would also just like beauty standards to change, especially internally when it comes to our particular cultures and how they view beauty, because I think if that can change, it has a ripple effect then where everything else essentially will change.
Speaking to people out there, you know, to say, please don't drink and drive. You are putting innocent's life at risk. You know what I mean? I could have lost my child. I could have lost my life. My children would have right now be living without a mother. You know what I mean? All because of a drunken driver. Somebody who became irresponsible, drank wherever he was and got onto the road.
I just want to tell that everyone, you know, it's best when you talk about it and not feel embarrassed because you didn't do it to yourself. You didn't ask for it to be done to you. So don't be ashamed of it. Whatever you do, just try and find closure. Because if you let it consume you, you're gonna let it consume you. If at least you say, you know what, it happened to me and I have to live with it. If you have to, sometimes sit in the bedroom and be by yourself, then so do it. It's always gonna affect you. There's always gonna be triggers, but you just need to learn to live with it and accept that this was done to you. And just pray that it doesn't happen to someone else, because you don't know where this guy is. Is he dead? Is he in jail? What did he do after that? So those kind of things will always bother you if you haven't found closure.
So where are you today, Fortunate? Mentally, emotionally, all of that?
I'm in a great space. One thing that they told me when I overdosed, the lady said to me, like, Fortunate, the fact that you've tried to take your life means that you have a problem. So just keep inside of where you are. So I keep inside of my mental state every day. When I wake up, when I go to sleep, I make sure that I know where I'm at. So if I need to get help, I don't have to wait till I'm drowning to get the help.
And where are you today?
I read something the other day that said, I am where my feet are. And that's how I am. Like, today is a good day. I'm going to take it in its strides.
Yes.
If tomorrow is not a great day, I'm going to deal with that. And I think one of the things that fuels the guilt and the depression is looking too far ahead into the future, worrying about how am I going to manage taking my child to private schools, blah, blah, blah. But I'm in a good space. I'm where my feet are.
Where are you in terms of the relationship with your mother at the moment?
Oh, me and my mom are good now. Yeah. I had to learn that, unfortunately, my mother's also a product of trauma. And because she's also a product of trauma, she's only doing what she knows. Unlike me, who has access now to therapy and counseling and working through, my mom is in no position to unpack things that happened to me. My mom is 86. There's no way she can unpack things that happened to her at 20, 19, or even as a young adult. I forgave. I love her dearly. I'm only given so much time with her left in this life. I don't want to waste it. I have no grudges whatsoever. It took a lot. It takes a lot to forgive somebody who's never given you an apology. But I had to do it for myself. All of this I did for myself. Not for anybody else, not for my mom, not for my siblings. I did this for myself.
The so-and-so person who was with you on that day, have you forgiven her? And if she did reach out, would you have a conversation with her?
Now, yes, I've forgiven her. Completely, wholeheartedly. Do I want to have that sit down again? No. I don't need it. It's not going to serve me. It doesn't fit into who I am. Yes, the person that was raped on that day died. That Sally was left in the veld. The Sally that I am now, no. There's no need. We all have to answer to our higher self at some point. And she'll have that. I'm not the judge of that. I don't want to be the judge of that. I'm not there for that. I just pray that it's not something, I haven't left something open to put other women at risk as well. But with the work that I do, I try all the time to educate young ladies about the importance of checking your friends, you know. Don't just say, oh, mngani wami. How? Wazi kanjani ukuthi mngani wakho? How many cases have I encountered of young ladies going to functions, events, not knowing that the female friend they have has put a price tag on their head, and they get there and they get raped because they didn't know that they were part of the bargaining deal. And this is the reality of the kind of society we live in. Yeah, so she became an important instrument in my healing.
What are some of the biggest challenges or prejudices that you face? What would you say those are?
The biggest prejudices, and it's such a stupid question. I've been asked so many times, how can you be a Sangoma if you can't speak African languages?
Yes.
And my answer is very simple. Does God only speak Zulu? And that will make them stop and think. It's such a blinkers on question. So I'm going to throw it back at them.
Yes. Good point.
Thank you.
Good point. We have been gobsmacked by some of the things that guests have shared during this season. From hearing about intercultural clashes to what happens in mortuaries, we were never ready.
What has been the scariest thing a client has asked for, or the most shocking?
A client asked me to shit on his face.
Wow.
A client asked me to shit on his face.
And did you do it?
Yes, I did. Like, at first, I was like...
I'm not conservative at all, but it's a lot.
Yeah, I'm telling you, I was like, yo, I've never done this. But at the same time, I'm learning. Oh, it's okay, there are people out there that like this kind of things. So I did it, understand? And the person paid me extra just for doing that.
So what happens after that? Like I'm trying to... What happens?
Like, there's this, it's like a specific chair that I sat on, and then his face is underneath my and then I just shit in his face, and then opens his mouth, and then afterwards he spits it out and then brushes his teeth, just for it to go inside. That's the freakiest thing that I've ever done.
I came home and I confronted him. I was very angry and I was fuming, and I told him that this does not make sense. Now I am HIV positive. This says you are HIV positive, but you send me results that said you were negative. What is going on? And then he started becoming, verbally abusive. And he told me that those results I sent you, I found them on the internet.
Wow.
And I'm like, okay, why? And it's like, this is your punishment for leaving me and going to your friend. You are ungrateful because I took care of you when your mother left you, and you have the audacity to call the police on me and want me arrested. So this is your punishment and this is your reminder.
I get there and then he says to me, oh, I see you are 2 centimeters dilated. I said, what? He said, yeah, it looks like you are going to give birth today. I said, wait, what do you mean I'm going to give birth? He said, because you're pregnant. If I didn't die that day,
sure.
I was so shocked, and it's like someone just slapped me. I was flabbergasted. I don't know how. Even now, I'm still thinking, okay, this is me. This happened to me. I'm still shocked even today that.
So when you go to the hospital, just thinking there's some pain.
Yes,
happening.
I'm thinking even when I got there, the first thing I came was, you know what, doctor? I think something maybe hala or something because I get toilet, I'm constipated and I'm bloated all the time. So I think there's something wrong there. That's when he said, no, just lie on the bed so I can check. And
so he felt physically?
He felt at first, and he said, that's when he said, oh, you're pregnant. And then because I was shocked, he thought maybe I was lying. He put me on the bed. And then he took some gel, put it on my stomach, and then...
He scanned, yeah.
He gave me a scan. That's when the heartbeat and he's even telling me, hey, he has a big nose. That's what he said. Yeah, your son has a big nose.
So that's when you found out it's a boy and he has a big nose?
That's when I found out I was pregnant. I just found out from there.
What is your absolute worst experience that you've had doing the work that you do?
Worst experience in terms of dealing with the funeral or dealing with the body, or both?
Both.
Now that I think of the funeral itself, I had the worst. That day, I don't know, I don't know what happened. I was not there the day before to prepare. I think that was my first mistake. I was not there So I was not able to check the equipment. And then I just took the car and then I left. So I get to the grave, and then we start setting up. As we're setting up, I'm putting up the tent. I put up the tent. Now there's no gazebo. There's no actual tent,
cover,
the cover. And it's too late to turn back because the funeral probably starts in the next, 30 minutes? Even less, because sometimes we would work ourselves under pressure to a point where the funeral is probably on their way here and we are only setting up. So it needs to look presentable. You must bear in mind it needs to look presentable. And there's no cover. We just put the chairs. There's no carpets. And I think the lowering machine was not working. It wasn't working. It was jamming. And it's families that are grieving, and they're probably also angry at the same time. Oh my, that day, I literally took myself out of this. So once the family got there, they saw that, this is bad. There's no tent. Now they are taking their grievances on us now. They're angry. So what I did, I literally just walked away and I went inside the grave.
What?
I put myself inside the grave so that they don't see me. Then they ended up dealing with the other people, with the drivers, because you must remember the driver that drove the family there.
I can't believe you hid in the grave.
I had to do something quickly.
So you hid in the grave?
I had to do something quickly because I was asking myself.
So how did you get out?
No, when it comes to that, we know how to do,
strategically get out.
Yeah.
The experiences that I got as a Black woman living in China, I did experience a lot of racism. Also, I think it was also something that surprised me the most was that I knew there were going to be, or rather I had learned at that point that people were naive. Chinese people, obviously the culture and not being exposed to Black people. Some Chinese people obviously don't know how to act around Black people. And then there are those Chinese people who have been exposed to Black people, who have seen Black people, but still choose, when I sit in the subway and someone just sits next to me and decides to close their nose. Like, that for me was like, whoa.
So what are some of the incidents that have happened to you? Give us some examples.
Sure. The hair touching while I'm sitting in the subway, I'm sitting in the subway on my way home. Someone just walks up to me and just grabs my hair and starts playing with it without my permission. At one point during the whole COVID time and people were still very misinformed, I would walk into an elevator and people would walk out and, hold their noses. And it was so tough, Sis Lebo. It was so tough mentally.
For so long, I've been made to feel different. I've been made to feel not worth it. And that's not just in my country, but here as well. I do get death threats, like almost on a daily basis. And I'll take them to the police. They say there's nothing that they can do. I'm like, are you guys waiting until the time that once when I'm dead, that's when you come in and start looking around. Should I be the next hashtag before you can literally come in to act? I love myself. I wouldn't change it for anything in the world. And I just wish they could literally accept us without beating us in the streets or making us feel somehow or asking us to go back where we come from. Because immediately once when I go back, I'll literally go back to prison. I've never been in prison and I wouldn't want to experience it.
If this guy is not apprehended, somebody's going to die. And sure enough, 7 months later, someone did die. He murdered a girl and burnt her body. And the shock that came to me when I found that out, because I lived with this person for almost 2 years. So it was like, yeah, I know that, he tried to cover this with my mother, but now here's the proof. Like, he did this. This is who I was living with, you know? I was living with an entire murderer. Like, my blood just sank.
Yeah.
Like, literally.
Yeah. So now he was caught.
Yes, then
because
he got
murdered
caught.
someone else.
Yes.
Was it somebody he was in a relationship with?
No, it was someone he was trying to be in a relationship with. So he would also delve into, I found out during the relationship that he had subscribed to a number of escort websites. And so this girl was someone he found in one of those websites. And based on the story that I heard, because I've been in contact with people that were close to the girl, because I really wanted to find out what happened. Based on what I heard, he was trying to now get her into a relationship with him. So this girl apparently didn't sleep with her clients, but she gave sensual massages and that kind of stuff. So now he wanted to sleep with her, and she didn't want to do that, or she was pursuing her, but he wanted more than what she was willing to give. And that's why he decided to end her life, because I get it, everyone's a possession.
And if that wasn't enough, we sat with guests who shared stories that got us laughing out loud.
Did you also have a belief, because I know a lot of black people in the hood think all Asian people know martial arts.
Yes. Yes, I did. These were some of the challenges. Walking to school every day. I didn't use a car. And, being there, and people would like, and some of them would be thinking, he does.
I love that. What's the most uncomfortable thing a person has ever referred to you as to your face?
A chihuahua.
What?
I'm also
Chihuahua.
I know that.
Wow. At that moment, they said, the restaurant want to give you a wedding. What else do you want?
Just name it.
Yeah. And what did you name?
And just name it. Sengibuka lo mama ngithi, eh? Ngithi noma ngingafuna imoto, but name it. Noma umuzi, name it. Hayi. Labantu bathini manje? Bafuna ukusenzela everything. Ngibheka ngithi uyabona ke manje? Ngizokushaya izinto ongazazi.
So what did you name?
Okwami ngokuqala ngibuze nje kuphela ukuthi umani just name it a restaurant.
Yeah, you want a franchise? Surviving a plane crash, but being here to be able to share this story. Today's guest is here to share this. Hashtag Unpacked with Relebogile. Join us into I don't know what I'm saying now. You might have heard of You may not have heard about polyamory before, but you heard about it to hear. What? My language. Hey, it's so hard being the smartest person here. It's very hard, guys. You know, sorry, my intro is just... Okay, let's give it a chance to settle.
Dude, really?
Sometimes when you're looking straight in I feel like you're looking through my soul.
Ooh. It's getting hot in here, so take off all your clothes. You want me to?
What an amazing third season it has been on Unpacked with Relebogile Mabotja. We thank our amazing guests for opening up and sharing. Mostly, we thank all of you for tuning in and watching.
Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you had as much fun as I did.
Till next time,
have a good night. Thank you so much for watching Unpacked with Relebogile Mabotja. Make sure you subscribe to my channel where you can get to watch more episodes. But more importantly, you can be part of our online community. Comment down below, share with us who you'd like to see on the show, or what story you'd like us to discuss. We love engaging with you. Keep it coming and don't forget to subscribe.